What's up? I'm back with day 12 version 2. So I had another look, and the way we did it here is quite elaborate and just uses basic tools like strings, going through a string and looking at characters with our own maps of how deep we are and if we're in an array and if we're red and so on. Another way to do it, let's say v2, is like this, where we just use the kotlinx serialization JSON library, import it here in the plugin and the implementation, and then what we can do is we just do JSON dot, so this is from kotlinx here, pass to JSON element our string, and then we have a JSON element, and a JSON element represents a JSON element, which can be a JSON primitive, JSON array, or JSON object. So then we can handle our cases where we're going into squarely brackets as an object, or we're going into square brackets as an array, or if we have a primitive, we can check for red or sum up the numbers. And then we just go by the JSON element. If the type is a JSON array, we go to this function, and if it's an object, we go to the other. For array, we just want to sum the array, where if the element, so we loop through this array, and each element in the array can be a primitive, so we sum it. If we can cast it to int. If it's a string, then we can't cast it to int, so we just sum 0. If it's an array, then we just pass the underlying array to the same function. If it's an object, we pass the object to this countNumbers object function, and else just 0. I think this case doesn't happen. And then once we sum everything, we can return the result. And the object is similarly, we go through the object. If the primitives in the values contains red, or the key contains red, we just say return 0. Else, if the values if this all doesn't contain red, then we can go a level deeper, which is summing all of the keys, all of the elements within the object. And then we can go through the same way. If it's an object, we just count the object recursively. If we go to array, we go to the array function again. And if it's a primitive, we just cast it to int or null and set it to 0 if it's null. And then we can return the result after we went through the whole tree, and we just stop if we find a red as key in one of the objects. We don't have to go through the extra layers, but we are doing a bit more serialization. So if I run this on the input, the long one, get the same result, 68466. And this is 180 milliseconds. I'm curious. How fast was our code? 200 milliseconds, so a little bit slower. Or it's just slightly deviating. No, I'd say the v2 is slightly faster. But yeah, similar run times. But yeah, that's another nicer way and shorter way to do it with more Kotlin-esque way of doing things. So that's it. Thanks again. Bye.